Coming up in episode 9, I'll be talking to you about what hard work really means, drawing from my experiences working with youth and helping players grow to successful athletes. Let's elevate your mindset and the way you approach the game as a player and as a parent. It's time to attack.
Welcome to the Grit Hoops Podcast, powered by Grit Basketball, where passion meets performance. This is the show for players, coaches, and parents who are committed to real development, elite skills, and the mindset it takes to win. We break down the game, cut through the myths, and give you the tools to maximize potential on and off the court. If you're ready to put in the work and take your game to the next level, let's get to it.
Welcome back to today's episode of the Grit Hoops Podcast. This is Coach Kerry, and today I'll be joined with Coach...
I'm not a coach yet.
Chris Nesi, who is our producer, and he is going to be a huge part of this episode. Excited to be on here with you, Chris.
I'm excited to step out of the shadows.
Let's make it happen. So today we're talking about what hard work really means. And I'm going to draw from a lot of the experiences and the knowledge that I have from the players that we've worked with that have been very successful athletes over the years, whether it's collegiate and professional athletes. We're going to mention some names and talk a little bit about what they did as they were growing up, and in hopes to help guide youth players and their parents to some of the things and challenges and experiences that they did to help them achieve what they did.
I'm excited for this conversation. I think it's important. I am a 5'11" wannabe Patrick Ewing in the post player from back in the day. And, you know, I love the game of basketball. I've coached it at the high school level a little bit as a volunteer assistant. And, you know, I'm a parent and I have, you know, kids who are getting involved in sports now. They're young, not super young, but I wear the coach hat, I wear the parent hat. So this is important. I think we got a lot of questions to ask, and you've got some great stories you're going to share.
Yeah, no, excited. Definitely excited to dive into this topic. So parents listening, I think you'll take a lot of gems away. And players, hopefully you lock in and this motivates you to dive into your work ethic. All right. So if your kid does not love basketball, I recommend you stop listening now.
I think that's a good point. You should not be forcing your kid to play basketball, right? Writing the check for training or putting them on a team does not make them love the game. It is not going to make them work harder. It's going to aggravate you. It's going to aggravate your child.
Yep.
They got to love the game.
Absolutely. So, and one common thing when I mention these players below, one common thing that they all have is they have this true passion for the game of basketball and something inside of them that really drives them to be great at something. We hope everyone has that drive, and I believe everyone has it in something. You know, whether it's basketball or this topic could pertain to something else. But having that drive and that love for what you do is what's going to hold you down when things become challenging.
Otherwise, again, see you next episode.
Yep. So that being said, if your kid loves the game and has a drive to improve, this episode's for you. It's going to talk about skills, techniques, strategies, habits, mentality, struggles, and positive outcomes for several players that we've worked with over the years. We're going to talk about what they did, how they did it, and why they did it. What was their why? Okay. Some of the players we're going to talk about in this episode will be Diamond Miller, Jaylen Blakes, Tucker Richardson, Belle Pellecchia, and Olivia Miles. So if you're listening today, you guys are awesome. We love you guys. That's why we, mentioned you in this topic, and we think your stories all have little special gems that we want to try to give to the youth to help inspire them to get to maybe where you are one day. Yep. So what is the most common traits and some of the most different traits amongst these athletes. Just to overview it, obviously, we could say hard work all day. We want to give you more than just saying work hard. All of these athletes, I'll just put an over umbrella, they work extremely hard. I want to try to give you little gems outside of just working hard. What is hard work? Most of these athletes, it was whether they worked out after practices, they had trainers. Obviously, they worked with us at Grit. They worked with me for years. They trained after their high school practices. They trained after games. They did two-a-days. Diamond and several of these players, and sometimes the hard thing is for them is not to work out and to take a rest day, right? So that drive to work hard is going to be one of the common things amongst all of these athletes. And so we're not going to harp too much on it after this part because we know that's a given. They all work extremely hard. They work out multiple times a day. They obviously have trainers and so forth. So
why don't we start with Diamond Miller? And first, for the listener who may not know who she is, who is Diamond Miller, Coach?
So Diamond, number one, awesome kid, awesome. She's a young woman. She plays in the WNBA. Diamond plays for Minnesota Lynx. She played college basketball at University of Maryland. She played high school at Franklin High School in Somerset, New Jersey. So Diamond, as a WNBA player right now, she was number 2 pick in the WNBA draft. And some of the, we could go into many different stories about Diamond, but that's who she is. And we'll talk about some of the gems that makes her who she is. When did Diamond come into your life, or vice versa? How did you guys connect? Yeah, Diamond and I connected when she was maybe 4th, 5th grade. And it was through her dad, is an amazing individual, mom, amazing family, her brother. We trained Landon Miller, Lanaya, all of them, Adriana. So we trained a whole Miller family over the years. And obviously they work out with dad, they work out with mom. So we've had the pleasure of working with them ever since very young ages. We started with their oldest, who was Adriana Miller, and then Diamond was the little kid in there as a 5th grader, 4th grader, and she was in there doing drills and working out. So what is it that makes Diamond unique as a player that kind of sets her apart that parents should be aware of or players should be aware of? Yeah, so one thing that makes her unique today is, and you'll see this is common for most of the players, is they're very well-rounded. Diamond is very well-rounded. She can shoot the ball. She can handle the ball. She can finish at the rim. She can do step backs. She can do all these. She's very versatile. And we preach that at Grit. We think that's very, very important. Some people preach to specialize, and we think that could limit you in the future. So you want to be as versatile as you can. And that's one thing that Diamond has definitely, I think, added to her repertoire, and it makes her very special. She's so versatile and has the ability to do so many things on the court, defensively and offensively. A couple episodes ago, you talked about the Grit Grid. How would she score on that? Oh, wow. Well, Diamond in high school, well, it's funny because now I talk to her dad, I talk to Diamond about, the attack mentality and being aggressive, and Diamond 100% has attack mentality. She's always looking to put pressure on the defense, impact the defense. She sniffs out a mismatch the second it happens. So don't be a person that can't guard her, because she knows too, right? So she's constantly looking for advantages, and she led her team to, in high school, multiple state championships. She led her team to the tournament in college. So this mentality helped her lead her teams very far and helped her obviously be successful herself. What was the thing that she focused on the most as she developed as a player? So this is a gem, I think, for Diamond. A gem for Diamond. Hey, we got to use it. We got to use that more often. But this is definitely one of the big things that's a gem for Diamond's development over the years. And I think it was her dad and her surrounding the people that were in her circle, mom, and they always allowed her to expand her game, even though she was at times the tallest kid. She was the point guard. Dad always, I think, had her as a point guard. She was coached by her dad. They have a AAU program, which is Diamond's AAU program in New Jersey. It's called Team Miller. But she was always at a guard position, even though Diamond 6'4", for those of you that don't know. And I think though if she had a different coach, if you're taller and you're, than your peers, they may not let you bring the ball up. They may not let you shoot threes. So I think a huge thing for Diamond was being in an environment where she was allowed to explore her game and expand her game, and she wasn't limited throughout those crucial years of development. So she has to thank her dad for that one.
And that speaks to, what was the previous episode that you did? It was episode 3,
mm-hmm.
which is you talked about why positions could limit a player's future success.
Absolutely.
So she was not limited.
Mm-hmm.
She was able to play all 5 positions
mm-hmm.
and grow and develop, and she brings that attack mentality to all 5 spots on the court.
Yep. I even think, and Diamond's it's funny because we're so close. I know throughout her entire career many different things, but when she played for USA basketball. She played in the post for a good amount. She and I thought that was even beneficial, right? It's not about whether you're playing in the post or playing as a guard. It's about the versatility.
Can I throw out a great historical example?
Mm-hmm.
So the day we're recording this, which kind of dates the episode, but today is May 16th, 2025. Today is I don't do math live, but in the 1982 NBA Finals, today's the anniversary of Game 6, Lakers 76ers. In that NBA Finals, Magic Johnson in Game 6 played center for the Lakers. He was a rookie point guard. Kareem was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
In the game at center, Magic puts up 42 points. And the Lakers capture their first championship since the early 70s.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's it. That's a prime.
He was not just boxed into being a point guard.
Yep. And that's something that didn't just happen that night. That's been developed over the years. He's had experience in these multiple spots.
Oh yeah, he didn't just show up and throw him at the 5 for fun.
Yep. He was like, "Coach, I got it.
He probably said something like that.
Yep. So to go on, we could go on a lot about Diamond, but super proud of her and all the things she's accomplished. But we want to give you the gems and something that we think can be huge, and something that was huge for her is her surroundings. Number one, she had a great support system. Her parents, there was times where dad is and mom are relentless. Hey, you're going to do something. We're going to do it right, and we're going to work hard, and we're going to work consistently. So she always worked out, and she was never limited. She was allowed to expand her game and explore her game and her skills in many facets throughout her developmental years. And this is 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. In high school, she played at the guard spot. So this is something that she's been developing for many, many years.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next on the list of people you have pre-assembled, you have Jaylen Blakes on here. So JB, real quick, where's he from? Give us a little player profile.
Yeah, so I met JB when he was in middle school. He went to Princeton Day School, and for a great family. It's amazing family. We're not talking about Michaela in this one, but Michaela and him are both super successful kids, and what they achieved is extraordinary. We're so proud of them, and their parents are so proud of them. You could just the glow that they bring to everyone around them is amazing. But met Jaylen when he was in 8th grade. He went to Blair Academy as a 9th grader. Thought that was a huge impact for Jay. And JB started training. He was relentless with his training. But he's a kid that his story's a little different because he went off to boarding school. That's why I want to, mention just him because his journey is a little different. He's that kid that just has a relentless drive to be great. And it's awesome. Right now next to him, what I have for his notes is he has grit and a ton of heart. He's self-motivated, and he has this consistent perseverance about him where he's just consistently going to work on his craft and be the best he could be. He's not going to leave any stone unturned. And
so for him, it's basketball, and he's got these personal qualities. If it wasn't basketball, it sounds like he would be successful and is going to be successful at whatever he does because he's got these qualities. Heart. He's self-motivated. So whatever he turns his attention to, he's going to do. And he's going to do well.
Yep. And it's like, I obviously for the audience, I know you may say, hey, my kid's not that motivated and doesn't have that drive yet, but I know he has it in him, right? You may see that in a kid. And I believe, maybe let your kid hear this episode and try to tap into that with your kid because I believe we all have that fire inside of us, so helping your kid find that heart. And what I have, the vision that I have when I was talking about JB in this episode was his story was different because he was away at school. So JB, even though he trained at Grit, he also trained with another great trainer in the area, Mark Knapp. He's a coach, high school coach, and he trained, he's always working on his game when he's home, but when he's at school, he had to figure it out himself.
Yeah.
Right? Where Diamond had dad, mom, she had, we were in the gym almost every day. I saw Diamond 5-6 days a week. JB was I hear stories. I'll call his high school coach. He's like, Jaylen's in the gym every morning working out. Before class, after class. He's in the gym late at night working out. So this is for those kids that you may not always have that support system. And not saying he didn't have the support system. He just was at a school about an hour and some change away. So he had to figure it out himself. So players, you can do it.
I think it also goes back to what you started the episode with. If you don't love basketball, this ain't going to work.
Yep.
Right? So maybe for the parent that's listening, if you think, they're really not dedicated, like my kid is not doing basketball like this. No offense. Maybe basketball is not what they want to be doing. Now, it's weird to say that on a basketball podcast.
Yep.
But
find out what they love and attack it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Attack first.
Yep. There it is. So JB, we love you. And your story, hopefully it helps, inspires a kid that has that drive and that wants to work out. And like I said, he worked out early in the morning and late at night. And most of these players did. I know Diamond did that, but she was like at home. She went to a local high school. JB did it by himself a lot. Did a lot of workouts by himself, similar to when kids go off to college. A lot of things are self-motivated and self-driven. So you can do it if you put your mind to it.
All right. Next up, you've got Tucker Richardson.
T. Rich. So I always call Tuck T. Rich. So hopefully I'm the only one that says that. But Tucker is number one, a super special kid. Love him. I've known Tucker. I met Tucker in that around that eighth grade time period. And the amazing thing with Tucker, I have next to his name, is a late bloomer with a tremendous work ethic and passion for the game. So Tucker, it's similar to Jaylen. Jaylen had this more relentless drive to be great. And I don't know if I didn't even mention, Jaylen went to Duke and Stanford. And he played at Duke. And then, so he had this drive that was unmatched. Tucker had this deep down passion and his love for basketball. He loved basketball. He did want to be the best version of himself, but I don't think he had this, I want to play at Duke. He wasn't as, locked into be the greatest player of all time, but he just had this love for the game. And he was a late bloomer. When he came to Grit, which most people wouldn't believe, he wasn't a great shooter. He was I would say, average, slightly above average ball handler. He just, he had a knack for the game. He could read the game. He's an intelligent kid. He had some very average attributes. It wasn't anything crazy. But the thing that Tucker had, that why he's, one of the kids on this list, is because he had this love for the game, and he was a late bloomer, which I know a lot of kids do have, right? You have a love for something, but maybe you're not there yet. Yep.
Yeah, I've been there. I'm a late bloomer myself, except I'm stuck at 5'11", and I'm over 40. No, but I see that with my own kids. For example, my younger son. I'm going to cross the streams, and we'll talk about another sport real quick. I'm more of a baseball guy. I love to play basketball.
Yep.
But my younger son, he is 10, and we tried baseball when he was 7.
Mm-hmm.
Did a season. Asked him the following year, "You want to play?" "No, I'm good." So he was semi-retired for 3 years, and this year asked him, "Hey, you're going to be 10, interested in playing baseball again?" He's like, "Yeah, I want to play."
Yeah.
So now this has been a season of, he's hitting the ball, he's fielding, he's learning, and I'm seeing him start to develop that work ethic. And, as a parent who loves baseball, I'm trying very hard not to impose my views and make him the player I never was. And it's really tough
it's tough
to pull back.
There's a balance too, though, right? Because you want to push, but you don't want to always have to pull. You want them to also want to be pushed, right? So there's a balance. I truly believe the best players, they usually have a push, whether it's with their academics and their their not just basketball, but their athletics and their academics and their everything in their lives. They have that push, but they also have acceptance of it. If the kid accepts it and embraces it, I think that's where you get that golden spot.
Yeah. And also the idea of being well-rounded, right?
Yep.
Between athletics and academics, it all contributes to who you are as a person.
Absolutely.
Now, real quick, I'm gonna step on your toes real quick.
Yep.
Before we continue with the other 2 people that Coach wants to talk about, we're going to take a quick time out for this word from Grit Basketball. Basketball players and coaches, want to take your finishing to an elite level? The Grit Elite Finisher course is your fast track to mastering layups with both hands, finishing through contact, and making every shot count. This step-by-step program gives you lifetime access to high-level training and downloadable resources, helping you go from struggling at the rim to finishing with confidence in just weeks. Don't just take our word for it. Players like Diamond Miller of the Minnesota Lynx, Tucker Richardson, playing pro in Europe, Olivia Miles from Notre Dame, Jaylen Blakes, played at Duke and Stanford, and Michaela Blakes at Vanderbilt. They have all sharpened their skills through elite training like this. For just $2.99, you get everything you need to elevate your game. Ready to finish strong? Sign up for the Grit Elite Finisher course today at gritbasketball.com. That's gritbasketball.com.
Welcome back. So today we're talking about what some of our players that we've seen over the years, what they've done to achieve a very high level of success. This is in hopes to inspire other youth athletes and parents to help guide, to bring out the potential in their kids and the potential that you may have inside you.
I've been taking notes. So here's what I've learned so far. You need to love what you do. So love basketball. You need, if you're the parent, you need to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
But as I'm learning, don't be overbearing.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to have some heart. You got to be self-motivated, right? In talking about Jaylen and T. Rich, can I call him T. Rich? I don't know.
Yep,
Maybe I'll shake his hand one day. These are players who very self-motivated. They're working when nobody's watching.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big key.
Yep.
I put a star next to that one.
Yep, absolutely. And include Diamond in that as well. She, once again, Diamond's a kid that doing late night workouts on a regular basis. She's, all of them very tremendous kids and really hard workers.
All right, so you got the next person on the list, and you've said this name a bunch of times through these first few episodes of the podcast, and I love this name, so please give it to us.
Well, I'm going to mention Belle Pellecchia next. That's the next person.
That's my favorite name that you talk about.
Belle just actually graduated. Congratulations, Belle. Actually, before I go into Belle, I wanted to mention one thing because I think it's going to tie things together about Tucker. Like I mentioned, Tucker was a late bloomer, loved the game. But one integral part that I would say that Tucker would not be where he is today if it wasn't for how his mom really cultivated a lot of things within his life to help him improve. So even seeking out me to help him, that was his mom, right? coming up to me one day and said, "Hey, can you help my kid shoot better? I heard you teach shooting across the country. I taught shooting for Pro Shot," and she seeked out, my assistance to help her son. And then she followed through. We were in the gym every day. Another thing Wendy did, his mom's name's Wendy Richardson. Wendy seeked out, once Tucker started getting better, she seeked out other opportunities because he grew up in a very suburban town, to be honest, not very high level players. I don't think they've had a Division I player since Tucker in the year. We have to go back in the history books to find one. And there basketball wasn't high level in the area. And she seeked out a lot of opportunities for him to play with higher level players. He actually played with Nas Reed, Javon Quinley, a couple other really high level players that are professional level players, played with them in AAU. So his mom really did a great job of cultivating an environment for him to grow. And
this is because he loved the game,
yes,
and wanted to pursue it.
Yes. Okay. And he improved. So as he improved, the environment changed as well. So it's almost like he came to Grit, he improved, came to us, we improved. As you got better, upgrade that environment and upgrade the challenges.
I like that. Upgrade the environment.
Yep. So that's important. And why I mentioned that, because we're going to kind of tap into that a little bit more with the other two players we're going to talk about. So now back with Belle Pellecchia, your favorite name. Belle just graduated. Belle is also a kid that had a really consistent drive to get better and love the game, like we've mentioned with each one of these players. But I would say one of the things that I found very interesting with Belle is she was very, like, I would say athletic, and her athletic ability made her very successful early on. So Belle athletically was very gifted, but as a basketball player, she was a late bloomer. In high school, I think Belle played most of her high school career played in the post. She wasn't like as a 4 or whatever, if you want to use positions, and she didn't develop a lot of skills, her guard skills, till later on. So Belle was in this interesting position where she had a really relentless drive. She ate healthy. She worked out. She was one of the most fit athletes that we've worked with, male or female. But she was a little late bloomer with her skills. But why I mentioned Belle in this episode, I talked about her because just like similar to Tucker, she's a late bloomer. And number one, being a late bloomer, she's probably one of the best players in NYU history. She won 2 national championships at NYU. But she was a late bloomer with her skills. And we started working with Belle, I think, at the end of her sophomore year and helping her develop more guard skills. And she had, I think, a 30-point game by her senior year, which she was never even close to. So she just acquired a lot of skills because she was not fortunate enough to, like Diamond, where she developed skills at a younger age. She didn't have that. She was athletic, but she didn't have the guidance to develop all those skills. So if you don't have the skills, if you're a kid that you realize your son or daughter, or you're a player and you're listening, and you don't have the skills, but maybe you're athletic, you can make a change. You can focus on your development. Like I said, we started working with Belle sophomore year, and she transformed her skill level and ended up going to NYU. I truly believe she was a Division I player at that point, but she lacked in some skills. She wasn't polished, and went to NYU, and it ended up being amazing for her, and winning 2 national championships, being Rookie of the Year, being Player of the Year, or maybe not Player of the Year, but pretty dang close, being first team. She just achieved a tremendous amount.
A lot of accolades there.
Yeah. Yep. So really, really special player. And like I said, mention Belle because she's a kid that very rarely you see a kid focus on nutrition and fitness at 14, 13 years old, 15 years old, really conscious of what she eats and her fitness and working out. Some kids might play the sport. That's fun. But she'd like to do those other things that sometimes kids don't like to do. Almost
like into the science of like the physiology of how can I be at my best to use the skills I'm getting better at. Okay.
So she's very interesting where her level of maturity at a young age was really different. So players, I thought Belle would be a huge, she's a great role model, but a great different example for you guys because she paid attention to those other details and then enhanced it with her skills and her knowledge of how to get better with her skills, kind of later on in her career.
And it's almost like the training for the basketball, working to become a complete player, but with these other things you just talked about, working to become a complete person.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that sounds unstoppable when you put it all together.
Absolutely. And that's definitely what they were. I think they were unstoppable. They haven't lost a game in 3 years. And her coaches at NYU are amazing. Belle's amazing. Obviously, amazing players, amazing coaching, and her family. Dad, I talk to him on a regular basis. I actually went to see them in the NCAA tournament versus one of our other players, Amanda Rappel, and it's just awesome to see all their achieves. And mom is there to support. Dad's there. And she has that support system as well, which is always great to see.
Nice. All right. So we're coming up here to the end of the list.
Olivia Miles, superstar Liv. We call her Magic Miles. I think that nickname's going to stick. Olivia, those of you that don't know Olivia, she played for Notre Dame. She graduated from Notre Dame. She had an extra year of eligibility, so she ended up deciding to go to TCU this year. So instead of going to WNBA, she was projected number 2 pick in the W this year. But instead of going to WNBA, she decided to go back to college for one more year, which is a huge benefit to college basketball to get one more year of her. And we could thank the transfer portal and NILs for that, right? We talked about that in an episode. You don't get players like Olivia Miles to stay another year in college if it wasn't for, the changes that they've made with the landscape of college. So Olivia will be at TCU next year, and super special player, and I think she could be number 1 pick in the draft next year. She's a star and a special player. And some of the gems that Olivia did when she was younger, that's what we're going to point out that I really think helped create this monster that we see today.
So what makes Miles magic?
Yes, absolutely. The magic behind the Miles. So one of the things that I'll bring up is a conversation that I talk to her dad, Yakubu Miles, all the time. He's like him and I are super close friends. He's become like family. And one of the things that he's mentioned about Olivia when she was very young, it always stuck with me. And that thing is when he said he would go pick her up when she was in like grade school, and she in like elementary school, and she would be playing one-on-one with this boy every day for hours, right? Hours. Just hours of one-on-one playing. And he's like, he'll ask them to score. They'll be like, it's 70 to 90. And like to just make up their young. And I thought that was really cool. Number one, to a girl playing versus a boy at thinking nothing of it. They're just kids and they're playing one-on-one every day. Supposedly he was one of the better athletes. She's a very special female athlete, so she's the best athlete. And they're just competing every day. And we talk about the importance of one-on-ones and the importance of just competing on a daily basis. And I thought that was very interesting how just playing one-on-ones for hours, how it impacted her ability. Now, if you see her, she could easily beat anyone one-on-one. She can do anything she wants on the court. And I think those things are cultivated just at those young ages. So that was something I thought that was interesting.
Nice.
Yep. So, and then another thing with Liv is her parents are, once again, super supportive, like all the parents. We train her brother as well. Her brother's Isaiah Miles. He'll be a college player. But Olivia always had a different level of push from her dad. Her dad he would always say, I'll go to games. And he'd be like, I always keep it real with her. And he always kind of told her, things that were the truth, that he believed was the truth, whether you played good, you played bad, and he was always honest with her. And I thought that was very instrumental because she could always trust that he's going to give her feedback that was about her growth and that was truly in line with her capabilities. And I think that was huge, and that's really, really big for a kid. So she loved the game, loves basketball. Like you'll hear in one of our next episodes coming up, we talked about studying the game. Olivia is one of those people that has a favorite player, watches professional basketball. And then she also had that push from her dad that, to be the best she could be and being held to a really high standard. So I and he's a worker, go out and run 10 miles every day, like daily. So I think he instilled that, helped instill that.
Now, when we were prepping for this episode and this conversation, you gave me a little preview into what you were going to talk about for each of these dynamic players. And now I'm going to ask you the question I asked you before we hit record, which is, what is the significance for these players, and really any player, of their parent? Because it seems like, and you keep saying it's the mother, it's the father. What is the importance of the parent for these players?
It's unmatched. It's the difference. The support, the push, the guidance, the seeking out professionals to help, and creating environments for your kids to grow.
So it's not about going to the games and yelling
nope.
like a fool at your kid or at the coach, or
that actually
playing time, or none of that.
That actually doesn't even matter that much. So many people get caught up in the emotions of the game, the bad refereeing, they think, and all these other things. Be there for your kid and support them through challenges, push them to be the best they could be, find out how much they love something and pursue it with all their heart. I think that's the key.
I love it.
Yep.
That was really my only big question for the episode.
That is a great capstone question. So thanks for definitely delivering that message, because I think that key is the most valuable thing we could take away from today's conversation.
Yeah, I mean, because as an educator, as somebody who's interested in youth sports, I've been saying for years that the worst part of youth sports are the parents.
Yeah.
So if you are like the parents of the players we talked about today, keep doing those things. If you're listening to this episode and you're not the type of parents we've talked about today, evaluate. Is there a grid for parents? Like how to...
Hey, we might have to make that. That'll be next. Grid. We'll come up with that.
Parent edition, yeah.
So, we'll wrap it up there. So thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone who will also get value.
I also want to jump in and say that the mailbag has been empty since the first few episodes. So if you have questions, send an email to podcast@gritbasketball.com. You can email Coach Kerry a question about an episode that we've put out already. Or if you've got a question, he might turn it into an episode, because I'll encourage him to do that.
Yep, let's do it.
And with that, I'm going to step back into the shadows. It's been real fun to be here, Coach. I appreciate it.
Hey, Chris, you're the man. And hopefully you're not in the shadows. You just keep popping in episodes and gracing us with your presence. So I love it. I love the conversation today, and there was a ton of value. So thank you. Thanks for listening. And remember, attack first.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Grit Hoops Podcast. If you found value in today's conversation, be sure to subscribe or follow so you never miss an episode. Got questions or topics you want us to cover? Hit us up at gritbasketball.com/podcast or connect with us on social media. And remember, greatness isn't given, it's earned. Keep putting in the work, attack first, and we'll see you next time.